Pastor Waggoner again. This is video number 8 in our study of expository preaching simplified. This week's video is entitled Connect the Thoughts. Once the big idea of a sermon has been chosen, the main points of the outline need to be constructed. Roman numerals should be used to identify the main points of the outline. Well, I say should be. That's the way I was trained. I suppose you could use a different approach, but they need to be specified in some way. The main points will have a specific relationship to the big idea. But the big idea needs to remain the singular focus of your sermon. And here is the point at which many preachers lose the connection. They have a theme, they have an idea, and then they move into an outline. They end up, instead of preaching 3 points that explain the big idea, they end up preaching 3 separate sermons that, people have to chase all over the place with. The main points need to be something. They need to be something, some description, or let me put it this way. The main points need to say something important about the big idea. They don't need to be dangling out there on their own. They may give further explanation of the big idea. They may establish proof of the big idea. They may apply the big idea in some fashion, or they can restate it. Those are the 4 basic things that main points can do. Now, keeping these 4 possible relationships in mind each time you construct an outline will help you produce outlines with a singular focus. The main points should never stand alone, but always complete and complement the big idea. So how do we come up with the main points? Well, first of all, remember the main points need to be drawn from the text. That's what we're preaching. They should not be imposed upon it or added to it from some other text or idea. If it is not in the text, it should not be a part of the outline. It's that simple. What the text says will dictate the outline content. As far as the main points are determined, it will vary. I should say, as far as how the main points are determined, it will vary based on the type of biblical literature involved. We're not talking about what the main points are, but how do you figure out what they are in the text itself? And so that's going to be a little different process in different types of literature. Take the New Testament letters, for example. There you're going to have to really pay attention to those main verbs. Go back to that diagrammatical analysis and work off of that. That's what I work off of if I'm in an epistle. Come up with an outline. So pay attention to those main verbs if you're dealing with a New Testament letter. They're going to dictate your main points. Now, if you're dealing with a passage that has 3 distinct sentences, all of which deal with the same subject, then the main verbs in those sentences will provide the main points, each providing some additional aspect or explanation of the subject at hand. If you're dealing with a shorter section, say instead of dealing with a number of sentences, you're dealing with 1 sentence. In that case, then the main verb is undoubtedly going to provide you the big idea, and it's going to be the modifiers that will yield the main points. Historical passages will usually require dealing with a whole lot of verses, because the narratives are long compared to, say, a New Testament epistle, and there's lots of details and descriptions, twists and turns in the story. So the storyline provides the big idea. So you got to know where it's all going and why it's there, and those are the kind of questions you need to ask to come up with a big idea. Poetical passages, they're a whole lot like the New Testament epistles in regard to their structure. The poetical passages are pretty cut and dried. in the sense that they all have a clear focus, usually stated right at the beginning, that will provide you with a big idea. But don't miss the poetical structure as well, and they will really help guide you in obtaining the main points. And by poetical structure, I'm not going to go into it, but you need to look at a good exegetical Old Testament commentary that deals with a poetical passage. And it talks about, the different structures and the different uses of parallelism and so on. Once you have a big idea in mind, and you know how the substructure of the text breaks down, ask yourself what it is that the main points need to do. What are their function in terms of the big idea? Will they be appropriate to explain the big idea, prove it, apply it, or restate it? I seldom ever use restatement. That function I only use it very rarely as a relationship between the main points and the big idea. I can usually make one of the other three always work, and they are more to the point and more usable for preaching as far as I'm concerned. But after you make this determination as to what is that relationship between the main points and the big idea, then plug it in temporarily to the outline so that it's clear in your mind. And then take some time to carefully word your main points with that in mind. Here's an example outline from a sermon that I preached on Psalm 1. Notice how the main points, in this case, relate to the big idea. The big idea, of course, as you see, is wise men do what's right. Wisdom is all about action. It's about responsibility. So my main points that I came up with, you see, don't walk with the ungodly. And these are all drawn straight from the text. Don't walk with the ungodly, verse 1. Don't wander from God's word, verse 2. Don't waste your life, verses 3 to 6. So the question is, how do the main points relate to the big idea? So what we're talking about here is transition type. Now, there are four things that the main points will do or can do in relation to the big idea. They can explain the big idea, prove the big idea, apply the big idea, or restate it. Seldom we ever use the restate function, so it's basically three that you mostly choose from. So you'll note here that I've chosen to construct the main points as commands or imperatives. Don't walk, don't wander, don't waste. So this is a very action-oriented type of outline where you're telling your listeners what they need to do in order to live a godly, wise life. So what is it? What's the connection between the big idea and what the main points are saying? Well, choose between explain, prove, apply, restate. And these are obviously applications. They're telling you how to go about doing what's right. Don't walk with the ungodly. Don't wander from God's word. Don't waste your life. So in this case, we would be using the transition type of application. And the big ideas are telling us something in terms of how we accomplish what we are supposed to do that is communicated in the big idea. So I think that will help as you consider your outlines and try to always connect things in your mind logically, and transitions will help you do that.